Hi everyone, welcome back to Football-Oranje, home of Dutch football. It is time for a European match preview. Ajax are playing Aston Villa in the Conference League, possibly the biggest tie coming up then for Dutch teams now in the final rounds of European football this season. And well, is it time for Ajax to pout the competition? I think Ajax and Dutch football fans think so. This could be a bit of a thrashing by Aston Villa. But regardless, let's talk about it. And do Ajax have any chance at all? Do Villa have any weaknesses? I am an Aston Villa fan. I am also a massive Dutch football fan. So I feel like watching Villa and Ajax, two of the teams I watch the most. But I've still got Neil here from, in my opinion, the best Aston Villa podcaster is going. Neil, do you want to just introduce yourself to Dutch football fans?
Thanks so much, Michael. Thanks a million for having me on. Yeah, my name is Neil and I run the For the Love of Paul McGrath Aston Villa podcast, and it's been a good time to be a Villa fan recently. It certainly has, and so we're running the crest of a wave, and I personally was delighted when Ajax came out of the draw, not because of the quality of their team or anything like that, but God knows Aston Villa have been starved of European football, and you want to get the lights, you want to get the illustrious names of European football. They don't come much bigger than Ajax. They really don't. Like, I grew up watching Ajax in the 90s, the mid to late 90s. That brilliant team of Clarence Seedorf, Finidi George, Edgar Davids, Kanu, that brilliant team. And Kluivert, lest we forget, that brilliant team and beating AC Milan in that Champions League final. And there is an allure of Ajax, and it really is the glamour tie of this round. Albeit I know we're going to talk about Ajax's form this season. European giants and big European teams are used to playing in Europe. Villa aren't, Ajax are, and I think that experiential kind of difference will be huge in this game, and I'm so looking forward to it. I'm just jealous I won't be in I won't be in Amsterdam to watch the game.
Yeah, it's a fair point about Ajax having that experience, and I think that does count for something here in terms of the standards and how they're both playing this season. We'll get onto it, but I think the quality difference is going to be there for all to see this time. And Villa played RZ this season. We did do a preview for that. It's great to have you back on again. The difference there was sizable, but I wouldn't say it was massive. Yeah. But Villa are that team now that are pushing up into those higher reaches of the Premier League, so you do kind of expect that. I think talking about Villa v PSV, I think it would be a very different game, very close. So let's get into it, Neil. So you've probably seen this season Ajax being bottom of the Eredivisie. They've then clambered back up the league, 5th place, but it's only just a 5th place and not really attached to that top 4, top 3 of the Eredivisie this season. Got some players you probably know about, but I think if you could sort of do that, what do people normally know about Ajax? What do people normally know about the players they've got? What do you know about them at the moment?
There's at least 10 players, if not 12 players from that Ajax squad that I would absolutely run to Amsterdam myself if there was a chance that Aston Villa could pick them up. So I can't understand. I really can't understand why this season has been such a downturn. Yeah. They talk, like, you see people in there talk about I can't pronounce his name. Is it Misseltat came in and there was maybe poor recruitment, and yes, they lost Edison Alvarez, they lost Kudos, they lost Anthony, they lost Julian Timber and all those guys over the last few years. But still, you look at that team, and I know a lot of Ajax fans are going to laugh at this because I know that I've done a small bit of research. He seems to be Mr. Underwhelming in Kenneth Taylor this year, but my God, if he's available, I'm smuggling him home from Amsterdam in my bag, yeah, for sure. The likes of Brian Broby, I think, would be an absolutely phenomenal foil for Ollie Watkins. I can't understand how Carlos Forbes isn't working there. I can't understand how there was another Borna Souza, really highly thought of. So it's really Branko van de Boomen, obviously probably was a player of he had a tough job coming in to replace some of the people they lost in that midfield, but another good solid player that if he was in an Aston Villa team, I think Villa fans would love him. So for me, it's a bit strange that they're not doing better even before you get onto the likes of Jurel Hato and Devin Wrench as well. Those guys are quality players too who came up through the academy.
I mean, I can tell you that part of it is confidence still. Like John Van Skip came in around about Christmas, November time, and he did shake things up a lot and started putting people in the right positions. He was just giving that arm around the shoulders. Some people, Tube Ratpom came out and gave a great view about that.
Yeah.
Said, I feel much more comfortable now. But then he's actually back out of the team at the moment, isn't really getting many minutes off the bench. And Brian Brobby has been playing really well. He is someone who's probably going to be at the Euros this summer with the Netherlands. I really like him. Best player they've got. Absolute beast. He is probably someone that could cause Villa some problems with their centre-backs. They've not got big, tall centre-backs really that have that physical presence, not like a Tyrone Mings. So that's probably where Ajax could get at them. But it's not an expected Ajax way. They do play some good football, good passes still, but I think that they're at their best when they're actually going a bit more direct and their quality players out wide are putting great crosses in. Bjorn Sosa's one of those at left back, but just suffering from confidence still, even after this run where they won a lot of games, got themselves at the table. That's because they played a lot of bottom half teams in the Eredivisie. The difference in the top and the bottom is massive in that league. So they were able to get some results. And when they started playing Bodo Glimt, for example, in Europe, you could see again that really that difference is there. That really are actually better than Bodo Glimt, but at the moment then they're maybe not, and they were really fortunate to get through, clinging on by the skin of their teeth. Right towards the end, it was
refereeing decisions and everything. I didn't see that game, but I wanted to, and I've meant to watch it back. But I remember Twitter was awash with questioning referees in that game. I think, but I myself haven't seen it, so I'm going to stay well away from that.
But now you come on to this Ajax moment. They're playing a 5-4-1. I put it out on Twitter and said, like, they're actually using that to practice for the Villa match. People said, no, I think it's what they want to do in general. I would be surprised if Ajax play this in the Eredivisie against a team that is in the bottom half and they're dominating possession. For me, it was because they were playing RZ, Utrecht, and Aston Villa coming up. They struggled against Bodo Glimt. So it made sense to me that maybe they've employed this a little bit to the international break, see how it goes. And if it does go well, they'll carry it on. And if not, back to 4-3-3 when their players are back fit. Steven Bergwijn might be back for this one, but I still think 5 at the back could be their way forward here to see how it goes. It got them a clean sheet at the weekend against Utrecht, but they're still very frail. I just think that this brings it back to why I think Villa will steamroll them over two legs, even if they don't in one of the matches. I think they will in the other. They've got too much, and Villa will go strong. Maybe rotate 1 or 2 players, but I think they will go strong in Amsterdam, get the win, and then see it out at home. But that's maybe me being an optimistic Villa fan, seeing Ajax being really leaky in defence. Or do Ajax have a chance and they surprise us in one of those 2 legs? But I just don't see it over the 2. And I think, Neil, surely you'd see it as the same, that Villa should be getting through this really with the quality they have. Do talk to us about Villa anyway. Whilst I watch them a lot, I think you've got that trained eye on all. Yeah. I just sort of shout and swear at the telly when I watch Villa rather than Dutch football. I'm more composed and watching it properly. Whereas Villa, it's all a bit emotional.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry, I'm emotional as well when I watch Villa 99% of the time. But I think the biggest thing with Aston Villa, where we have to, obviously having a fantastic season that we're having at the moment, but that we really are a sum of our parts type of team. And probably in this competition, and that sounds actually a small bit silly to say, because I was going to just go and say there, in this competition, every team will have a talisman or somebody who's doing the job, and I'm sure a lot of Dutch football fans will start screaming at the screen going, what about Ollie Watkins? Like, he's second to like, I think he seems to be in second in all the statistics behind one person at least, but he's having a super season. And I think that there's I think if he continues this up for the last 11 games and Villa do finish in the top 4, I think there'll be murmurings about player of the year in the Premier League for him. I think given the steady season that he's had, or the better than steady season he's had. But getting back to about Aston Villa, I think when I said that there are some of their parts, they really are a product of Unai Emery. They're a product of everything that he brings to football, whether it be European football, whether it be league football. He is a professor of the game, and he expects you to be able to come in and play 90% the way he wants you to play, and have that 10% expression that you bring to the game as well. And there's very few players on that team that expect that will kind of embody that more than the 2 central midfielders that I would expect us to play on Thursday night, in Douglas Luiz and John McGinn. He's given, like, we lost Boubacar Kamara, and that's another thing with Aston Villa. We can't make too many changes because we had a small squad. and it's gotten even smaller with ACL injuries recently. So we've got 4 people out injured at the minute. 3 of them ACLs who will not return, and then Douglas or Diego Carlos at the centre half position, who you mentioned would probably be the big, tall, brutish centre half that we have that we don't have at the moment, who's also out with a hamstring injury. Recently, Jacob Ramsey at the weekend left in a protective boot. I would be absolutely flabbergasted if he plays either of these 2 games, and that maybe gives a chance for somebody that came in January and Morgan Rogers to come in that left-hand side. And the reason that I've pivoted to that point about the injuries and so on is that when we go back to Emery being a professor and being somebody who comes in and relentlessly trains you on the training ground to do, as I said, probably about 90% of what he wants you to do, while giving you 10% of creative control about what needs to be done in, when the going gets tough. I think somebody like Morgan Rogers coming in will be somebody who will be relishing that chance, because he's had bit parts coming off the bench. He's been introduced slowly, and with Jacob Ramsey being out, I think he could be. I'm really looking forward to seeing him here against Ajax and even against the 5 at the back. He's going to be coming up there against, and I'm going to butcher the names here. Is it Guyer and Wrench? Is like, will he? He got, that was his red card at the weekend, but I presume he's going to still be okay to play.
That's the thing. He'll probably play both those legs now because of that divine Lynch.
Yeah.
And Tristan Hoyer, it's the Dutch. With the G.
Yeah. I knew the second it came out of my mouth it was wrong. I said it, Guyer. Yeah. I got to get slagged for that one.
He'll probably play a right wing back, but he's really inexperienced. He's got some good parts to his game, but he's like a lone move, I think. And this will be like a baptism of fire for him. I do worry him actually against whoever's out on that left. But then Sosa against Bailey, perhaps on the other side. Sosa's a experienced left back, but I don't know who we're getting against Bailey. I think if he's out at the pitch, Bailey can really expose that.
That's going to be 2 pacey people up against each other, so I can see John McGinn very much slotting in over there to protect Bailey from his central midfield part there, and to maybe I don't know, but maybe Matty Cash doesn't play right back, maybe Ezri Konsa goes in there, but once again there won't be too much change from Aston Villa. But I think that's going to be a track meet on that side. I think Sosa is going to be bombing up that wing, and I think Bailey's going to be conversely bombing up past him and the other way when during the transition. That's going to be mouth-watering, I think. I've watched a bit of Sosa, and I know he got an assist at the weekend, but I've watched a bit of him, and he does love to get forward. So Villa are going to have to be really, 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 I suppose, keep an eye on him for sure in this game, because he is an outlet. In a way, I love the fact that he went to Ajax, but I also thought that he was absolutely nailed on to go to the Premier League. Because of the Premier League's penchant for the likes of Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Reece James, good attacking fullbacks. I thought he was nailed on to go to maybe a Brighton or maybe even Aston Villa, I thought, but we've collected enough left backs, I think, at this stage. But it's I thought he was nailed on, and then the move to Ajax, it did kind of catch me by surprise, and I went, that's actually a really good move from him, coming from Stuttgart, I think it was. I could be wrong on that one. But
German
team.
A mid-table German team, wasn't it? And that's a move that some players are doing now. They go into those top Eredivisie teams from mid-table, because that's that next step for them. And it's a good one. I still think he can play better, though. I think Sosa can be a real threat. And maybe a game like this is what he needs to push his level up even further, because, he came with such good reputation, whereas some of the other signings didn't, and some didn't fit in, whereas he's one of the only ones that came with this bomb squad that came. It's weird calling the bomb squad the transfers that came in, but that's what happens. And there's so many of them have been slandered and slaughtered and maybe even left already, whereas he actually is a half decent player. You can really see it.
Yeah, I think so. And definitely somebody that we're going to have to worry about on Thursday night for sure. But like it's as I say, can I ask a question? I know it's your podcast. Can I ask a question about Kenneth Taylor though? Because as I say, I presumed he would be a darling for Ajax, because every time I've seen him, I've gone, he's made for the Premier League. Now might be flashy in an awful lot of areas and stuff like that. He's raw. He's 21 years of age, but the body of work he's put on film at the age of 21 in a team like Ajax, even when they were going well. And in the different positions he's done it in, I just to me when I just trawled through Twitter, I would think it was after the AZ game, and I was like, wow, Not particularly what I would have thought. But then again, I suppose when you're watching a team every week, like there's Villa players that Villa fans just can't take to as well, and other teams will go, yeah, I'll snap your hand off for him. If you're like, even Man United fans can't stand Marcus Rashford at the moment, and I'm like, God, yeah, I'll snap your hand off for him, guaranteed. Like he's a 20 goal a season striker. But what is the curious case of Kenneth Taylor at the moment?
Yeah, let's talk about Kenneth Taylor. I also wanted to bring up some of these players. You said there are like 10 players you would take from that Ajax team that might supplement what Villa have got. And there are some that definitely would. You know, Dieter, promising goalkeeper, can see him going for big money in future if he keeps going with Ajax another year or so. Joe Harto, like 17, ridiculous, a captain. But that kind of says it all.
He is
17-year-old as a
brilliant.
captain. But he is very, very good, but also shouldn't be the captain of Ajax right yet.
No.
But he's really, really strong, left-sided, centre-back or left-back. Great defender on the floor, like Julian Timber was. Then you've got, oh gosh, I mean, Lynch, not so sure, but he has had a decent season. He's really pulled it out the bag when a lot of people were against him. So I think Ajax fans are starting to turn on Lynch and Taylor. Taylor, though, still got it in the neck a bit. But some people are going, oh, you know, that was his best game in an Ajax shirt. And it's happening more often at the minute where people are starting to notice him in a good sense. But he was giving the ball away. Didn't really know his best position in the midfield. I think he's better as an 8. But the minute playing as one of the 2 attacking midfielders behind Robbie in the absence of Berghuis and Bergwijn, it's getting something more out of him. He's quite a nifty midfielder, good on the ball. But I always feel like, and this is coming from someone that I've interviewed him as well. It's on our channel. Like, I spoke to him, and I was lucky enough to meet him. But really, heart of hearts, I still don't think he's good enough for Ajax. He's good enough for them at the minute. But if they want to get back to top 3, for me, don't know. I think he would be better off at an RZ, bit below that. Maybe in Italy, lower team in Syria, in terms of his level itself. But I just don't know. There's something missing. Like he didn't score enough goals, or he won't be able to put the Ivan Neal passes through, or he's not tough enough to be that defensive midfielder. He can do some things really well. A bit, you know, someone who reminds me a little bit of, and this is because it's an Aston Villa link, bit of a Barry Bannon. Just does some things really well. But yeah, I think
6 foot Barry Bannon, we might add,
wasn't quite good enough.
He's about 8 inches taller than Barry Bannon, but
yeah, that's for a start.
But no, because when I see him, I go, yeah, get him in Unai, and then he is your guy that can replace. That could be a Douglas Luiz, protege, because like maybe Douglas Luiz doesn't stay around forever. I think probably there's a lot put in his shoulder. My view on it is, look, he's number 8 for Ajax. That's a big deal at 21 years of age. And look, Ajax have never been afraid to throw guys into the fire at a young age. But he's number 8 for Ajax. He's had a lot, as you say, his body of work. He's over 100 games. I think in all competitions played for Ajax at 21 years of age. Maybe he needs to slow down his mental development to stop putting so much pressure on him. And I think I just
part of it is mental, yeah.
And I think coming into a team whereby maybe the structure of a Ten Hag, maybe when Ten Hag was at Ajax, like things were going well and he was breaking into the team. I just see him selfishly as an Aston Villa player under Unai Emery, because some of the things I see him do, he doesn't need to be spectacular. He just needs to win the ball, and he needs to play in those triangles and ease his way into the into Premier League football. But I think he's a Premier League footballer, and I know that sounds very how will I put it? That kind of sounds arrogant when you say, oh, he's a Premier League footballer and he's playing in the Eredivisie, but I think he is, and I think his style would suit it well. Because but like that, as I say, you talked about him playing in different positions there. I think if he came to the Premier League, I think he would be a transitional 6, maybe, really, from that point of view, and utilize his height in more of a defensive point of view. But at 21 years of age, he won't be 22 until May, I think it is. He probably could stand to put a bit more meat in the bones, but I just like something about him. I'd sign him for Villa if I could. I definitely would.
No. It's good eye for it. I can see that in Unai's system it would work for sure. Well, Neil, in terms of the game itself, you've watched a bit of Ajax. I personally only see one win, and that's Villa. But do you think there's any kind of weakness within Villa? Is it the fact they go to Amsterdam and have Tottenham on Sunday? That could be something that Emery wants to rotate some players, or the players are thinking too much about it, or is he able to fully concentrate in this game for a full 90 minutes? Because if it's level, say late on, could Villa go for a winner? Then the second leg's more comfortable. What are those sort of the ins and outs of the game itself? How do you see it panning out in that first leg in particular?
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Michael. So I think Aston Villa, like the wandering eye, itis, if you want to call it, could be Aston Villa's issue here. They like under Unai Emery, that hasn't happened. It hasn't been allowed to happen. My biggest issue is, playing against Spurs at the weekend. Obviously, it's a huge game. Like if it was any other team, if we were playing the gosh, I'm trying to remember. Or Luton, who we played at the weekend. If we're playing Luton this weekend, obviously, I think it would be different. That's no disrespect to Luton. Luton should have gotten a draw against Aston Villa. We poxed it at the end with a goal, first attack in the second half, and Luka Dean pops up with a header at the back post. But because it's Spurs and the fact that we can open up what would be almost deemed as a cavern of 8 points, with our goal difference bringing it to almost 9 points of a difference between us and them to get the top four in the Premier League. It's going to be hard to compartmentalize that, and it's going to be hard for players to maybe push it that small bit if there's a niggle in their hamstring, or in the last 20 minutes or stuff like that, to really push it. So I'm not confident of Villa coming away with a win in Amsterdam. I'm confident in them over 2 legs, going to Villa Park when Spurs are out of the way, and hopefully we've 3 points there. But there's always the spectre of that small squad, the lack of true rotation that we can have in there, the lack of true rotation we can have in central midfield, because we've no longer got Leander Dendoncker and Boubacar Kamara is out. Like, I genuinely don't know who goes into that central midfield position outside of Yuri Tielemans, who's playing so much better for the forward, if we have to take a Douglas Luiz or McGinn out of there. I don't know who can come in there and do just like Timur and Bruno may get a start in Amsterdam, and maybe Morgan Rogers gets a start in Amsterdam. And that's interesting in itself. But Villa's biggest issue will be their smaller squad, and it will be that wandering eye itis that they may have with that, that massive game looming on Sunday against Spurs.
And I think thinking more about the game and how it might pan out and the tactics of both sides, I think it's just gonna be fascinating. Like whatever happens, something's going to happen, whether that's Villa turning up, being that Premier League team, looking at Ajax's markers this season, losing to Brighton twice, being quite average in that home game, but then lots changed for Ajax, getting better, but then actually having a little sort of drop off at the moment, then change their tactics. Do they sit in with the 5 and then counter attack, try and make the most of Villa's high line? They have got some pace. I still think Brian Brobby's the key. And if Ajax really need anything, he is the key.
Love him.
He is their strong best player. His hold up play is fantastic. Like he will bully people. He could bully people in the Premier League now. He's really come on. And Hlinson, I really like him. Icelandic attacking midfielder. His runs are great. He's got a good shot on him. Oh, yeah. Definitely watch out for him if you've never watched him before.
What age is he?
He's I can't off the top of my head. I think he's 19. Fun fact.
Because I presumed he was just young, because Ajax just bring in young players left, right, and centre.
Yeah, I think he was like 15, 16 when he joined from Iceland. So a thing about him this season is that we asked to speak to him, Football-Oranje. Now, we only get players sort of online if they're in the young squad. We can talk to the first teamers at a match. Now, we said we want to speak to Hlinson, and I think one thing left another, and he ended up having training for the first team and the second team. And his interview with us clashed with the first team. So they said, really sorry, we can do this date. And then he ended up becoming a member of the first team and ended up having to miss out on him because his development's been that rapid this season. Yeah. He's just become a first team player. Brilliant. Watch out for him. Watch out for Brobby. Bergwijn could be back and he will be a presence, I'm sure. And then after that, what can Villa do with what has been one of the leakiest defences in the whole of the Dutch league this season? That's going to be important. Do they find this way around the back 5, or have Ajax now trained it enough? I mean, there was a bit of a thing going on where the Ajax players were given an extra day off after all the games had been playing by the manager, John Van 't Schip. And then half of the first team players, who, by the way, have been named by the Dutch media, because that's what they do, they then came in and said, we actually want to train. We're not used to the system. and we don't think we've been good enough. And it was really interesting, the people that weren't part of that and didn't turn up. They are the players that haven't been playing the matches and need to be there, busting a gut, trying to get into the squad. So there's clearly still a massive divide in that team. A lot of the foreigners who are new to that side and aren't in it right now didn't turn up. Whereas the players are in that first team thought, no, this isn't good enough. We've got to come and train. So they are driven players. It's not as though it's all gone as bad as it was at the start of the season. The players do care, and they'll be really up for this. Players like Robbie will be super up for it. And I think it's going to be a great 2 matches. But I do think in one of them, Villa will run away with it a bit. And whether that's 2-3 goals, they'll see it through. So even if the first leg's not enough, I think they'll win the second leg just because of the quality difference at the moment. I think if Ajax keeps some of their best players, develop them in next season with a similar squad, they could be back up challenging for the title. But at the moment, they're not ready for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Neil, just finally from you then, what do you think the score's going to be over the 2 legs? Got to pin you down now.
Over the 2 legs on aggregate, I think Villa will win. I'm going to go with 3-1. I don't. I think Amsterdam. I think the game in Amsterdam is going to be cagey. I think it's going to be. I think Villa are going to go there to want to control possession, frustrate, and play slow. Maybe get an early goal and hold on to it. And I think they might come back to. Like, I wouldn't be surprised for it to be 1-1 in Amsterdam and then come back to Villa Park and Villa win 2-0. Like, that just seems like it might be something that might happen. That seems plausible to me.
And I think both teams to score has been a good bet for Ajax until their formation change, and then they didn't score in one game and then didn't concede in the other. But I would expect it to be quite open. Yeah, I think Villa will certainly sort it out in the home leg if they can't in the first leg. Neil, thank you so much for joining us. You are from an Aston Villa podcast called For the Liverpool McGrath podcast. Anything else you want to share?
No, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm an avid football watcher. I like this. I'm an armchair scout of players, so like I prefer actually watching players than I do watching full matches, specifically teams that I'm not totally invested in. So that's why I kind of had a little bit of a nerd out on Kenneth Taylor there a moment ago. I was thinking of doing another 20 minutes on Brian Brobby because I really, really like him, and I've liked him for years. I liked him when he moved to Leipzig, I think it was. Previously, was it Leipzig? I think it was, when he moved on from my ex and then came back. I thought that was too early for him, but you could see what he does. And again, another guy that, listen, if there's a fire sale in Amsterdam, I'm bringing him on my luggage for sure. That's 100%, because I think he's exactly somebody that Villa would love to have to play either up top with Ollie Watkins or to come in his stead. But so Kenneth Taylor and Brian Brobby, give us a shout there if you're ever looking to move to lovely sunny Birmingham. Lovely sunny Birmingham.
Neil, thank you. And for anyone watching, we are Football-Oranje, home of Dutch football in English language. So if you want to get into Dutch football, stick with us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got a website on Twitter. Go and check us out. Of course, if you enjoyed it and you're a regular, give us a like too. Comment down below what you think will happen over the 2 legs. Hope everyone enjoyed it, and much more from us soon. Thank you for watching.